Everybody, it's your girl Brittany coming back at you with another video. Before we get into this, I'm gonna need y'all to hit that like button and subscribe for post notifications on so you can keep up with all the latest trending news and gossip going on in these social media streets. It's no secret 50 Cent and his oldest son Marquise Jackson don't get along. I remember hearing little things here and there about them going back and forth on social media, but I never knew where it all stemmed from. When I saw their most recent dispute making headlines, it sparked a curiosity to want to figure out how this father-son rivalry began. During my journey down the rabbit hole of a dysfunctional father-son relationship, I was baffled by what I was able to uncover. In this video, we'll be taking a deeper look into an unfortunate tale of a romantic relationship gone sour, in which a child suffered. 50 Cent was born Curtis James Jackson III on July 6, 1975 in Queens, New York. Despite sharing his father's name, 50's dad was not actively present in his life. His mother, Sabrina Jackson, was only 15 years old when she birthed him and struggled to make ends meet. So Sabrina turned to a life in the streets dealing crack in order to provide for herself and her son. Due to Sabrina's fast life, 50 lived with his grandparents on 161st Street in South Jamaica, Queens. Every time Sabrina came for a visit, she would spoil 50 with gifts like it was Christmas year-round. Sabrina was a hard woman who brought 50 up in her own image. In an interview with Page 6, 50 described his mother as being very aggressive, manly, and tough, but their relationship also had a balance between soft and firm. In a quote from the interview, 50 stated, "She was my mom and my dad, and she was tough. So I didn't know when it was okay to be emotional and when it wasn't. She would look at me on the floor and say, 'Get up. What you over there crying for, acting like a little girl?' She would get mad at you and you say, 'Oh, it's not okay to be hurt this time. Okay, so let me get up.' So she determined when she would be soft and when she would be firm." Sabrina tragically passed away when 50 was 8 years old after someone drugged her in her home and turned the gas on, leaving her to die of carbon monoxide poisoning. By the time 50 was 12 years old, the lure of fast cash drew him to the streets. During this time in the late 80s, the crack epidemic was heavily taking over New York. Crack had arrived to New York in 1985 from Los Angeles, where cocaine dealers had perfected a way to turn expensive powdered coke into inexpensive small rocks, enabling them to make more than double the profit they would have made from just selling it as coke. The typical crack user also became addicted much faster than the typical coke user, which made selling crack a very lucrative money grab for dealers. However, the drug itself destroyed many communities and families. Throughout 50's teenage years, he had been arrested and jailed multiple times for selling crack. But by the mid-90s, he began to turn away from dealing after learning he would soon become a father. 50 and Shaniqua Tompkins met through mutual friends around 1990 or 1991 when they were just teenagers. Their relationship started off friendly but turned romantic in 1995. At the time they began dating, Shaniqua was a college student and 50 had been fresh out of a 6-month-long shock program, which he had to complete after police searched his home and found 10 ounces of crack and a starting pistol.
I met him, I was about maybe, I think about 15, 16.
Oh wow, you guys were young. He was around the same age. He's older than you. Like,
we're born the same year. We're only a couple of months apart. He was born in July, and I'm born in September. But we were born the same year.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you guys were like teenage lovers, kind of thing?
No, not at all. I was with my daughter's father at the time. But even before my daughter's father, I used to talk to one of his friends named JoJo. Yeah, JoJo, real cool guy. And JoJo would, back in the days, guys would send a cab for you. You would have a certain number, like call 66 or 77, and JoJo would always send a cab for me and my friends. He would take us out to the movies, out to eat. Cool. I spoke with JoJo like a couple of months ago too. Cool guy. But no, we were just cool. cool. I met him through a mutual friend that I grew up with. At the time, he was talking to her cousin.
Okay.
He was talking to her cousin, and yeah, just cool, just platonic. He never interested me as like someone that I wanted to date. We were just cool, but he was always just really cool. Like he's very charismatic. So and he always took a special interest in my daughter. He's always like, "This is my daughter. This is my daughter." I would say, "Stop saying that. Her dad's gonna really be upset." Saying that, but never anything. And then one day, he had went away. He had went to I think he was in a shock program, but he had got convicted of, I think, selling drugs or something. And he was away for a little bit, not long. But I hadn't seen him in a while, so I was with my daughter's aunt, and I ran into him. Like, I had my back turned to him. I didn't see him, so she was like, "Ooh, who's that cute guy in a Land Cruiser?" So I turned around. I was like, "Oh, that's Boo Boo." Like, she was like checking him out. Yeah, that's what they call him, Boo Boo. So she was like, "Oh," I said, "Oh, that's Boo Boo." So I went over there and was talking to him or whatever, and he's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Nothing. How you been?" Just a little small talk. And he's like, "Weird." I said, "So what's going on?" I said, "Nothing. I just moved out my own apartment." So he was like, "Give me your number." And I said, "Okay." And so he's like, "Soon my number gonna be your number." That's the first time he ever like said anything
like he made a
me
move
in that way. Yeah. So he did that, and then we planned to go on a date, and I stood him up. I stood him up, and then we planned to go on another date. Then he stood me up, and then later on he said, "Well, I stood you up because you stood me up." So he stood me up, and then we went out to what movie did we go see? Was it it was somebody's first movie. Who was it? Clockers?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the name of the movie? Who? I think it was Clockers.
I don't know. I was in Barbados at this time. You tell me.
Oh, okay. So we went out to movies, out to eat, and then it was just, that was the beginning of the relationship. Like, no, it was, but I knew him as a friend, like platonic, all those years, and then that was just like the beginning of the relationship, I guess. Yeah.
50 and Shaniqua's relationship moved pretty quickly, resulting in Shaniqua to become pregnant in 1996. It was 50's first child and Shaniqua's second. On October 13th, 1996, the couple welcomed their son, Marquise Jackson. The birth of Marquise was a pivotal moment in 50's life that motivated him to become more serious about his future. He wanted to be the father for Marquise that he himself never had growing up. So 50 gave up the street life and began pursuing a career in music.
Okay, so like how long were you guys together before, you got pregnant with Marquise? Like how long were you guys kicking it? When did he move from Boo Boo to Baby?
It was pretty quick because it's like I got pregnant with Marquise, but I didn't really consider us being in a relationship when I first got pregnant. And I didn't want to have any children because at the time I was in college. I already had a daughter, so I was like, I don't want any more children. And I didn't. It's not like we were just super close, and I wanted to be with him or. So then I got pregnant with Marquise, and I was going to abort the pregnancy. And then he was going to give me money to, get a termination. And then when it was time for me to go, he was like, "Nope." He was like, I want my baby. And I'm looking at him like, huh? He said, "No, I want my baby." And it was his idea to have Marquise. Really, if I really didn't want to have any more children, not at that time. But yeah, that's how Marquise is here.
I know he attributes like the change in his life to having Marquise. Like, what was he dibbling dabbling in that he decided to, I want to have my son and I want to make this change?
Well, he was hustling and in the streets. He has never had a 9-to-5 job ever in his life. And I told him, like, my dad was murdered when I was a child, like my early teens. So, I knew I didn't want to. And before my dad was murdered, my dad went to jail when I was 6 months home, 6 months old, and he didn't come home until I was 5 years old. So being that my dad was in the streets, and my mom would take me on trailer visits, and being that he was a murderer when I was younger, I said that, you have to make a change. I said, I don't do jail visits, and I'm not going to take my child to visit you at a gravesite. So I was like, well, you're going to have to figure something out.
He's the reason that I'm successful. My son is a motivation. He's the reason why I changed directions when I was in the street to me actually write music full time.
The next chapter of their lives is where things began to get a little fuzzy. We know 50 gave up the street life and started on a better path. However, the details of his journey contradict themselves depending on who's recounting them. In Shaniqua's version of events, she took on the role of being the sole financial provider for the family, while 50 put all of his focus into creating a career in music. Not only does Shaniqua claim she was the sole financial provider of the family, she also claims that she financially supported 50's aspiring rap career as well.
He decided he wanted to pursue the music, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll work and, take care of us financially while you pursue your music, and that's what he did. So like after I had Marquise, I went back to work. Marquise was only 3 or 4 months old. Yeah.
So you basically was holding down the family, like a strong woman, doing what you had to do for your man, for your son. I mean, that's never a wrong thing, but you were basically just holding it down. And I guess he appreciated you for that, right?
Yeah, I think it's just, it sounds so corny and cliche, but teamwork makes the dream work. You can't get anywhere all by yourself. So it was like one of those kind of things like, okay, it's like if a woman works while her husband's going to law school or to be a doctor, like that's just what I did, That's what it wasn't a second thought. I just felt like I was so happy that he was going in a different direction besides being in the streets. I mean, it wasn't the easiest, because it's not easy taking care of,
A family.
Yeah, no, not so easy, not at all. I was working while he was pursuing his rap career. I was paying for studio time. I was paying for DATs. I was paying for reels. Of course, some of the youngest won't know the DAT or reels. It wasn't digital time. So you had reels you had to take to the studio. You had DATs that you had to put in. I was paying for incorporating his first company. I was paying for his clothes, his jewelry. So he knows that during the tough times, who was there. Like I said, I was there for him. He would go for meetings in the city, and Marquise and I was sitting in the car while he's at his meeting because it's too much to pay for parking, and he doesn't want to park because he just got shot, so he wants somebody to sit there and be in front of the door for when he comes out. Like, I did all of that. Like, I was there.
In 50's version of events, he denies Shaniqua ever supported him financially. In court documents, he claimed he had ample resources that did not include Shaniqua. In fact, he claimed he didn't even require much money for his needs to be taken care of prior to his success. However, in an interview he did on This Is 50, he said at the time he decided to pursue music, he didn't have anything. Any material possession he owned that had monetary value was sold so that he could stay afloat, and he still ended up running out of money.
When I decided to write music, I went cold turkey. Like, I totally stopped what I was doing in the street. And it was a time that I actually didn't have anything, because the things that I acquired when I was hustling, it kind of went away. I had to get rid of it in order to have enough to stay afloat. I didn't have much because I ended up spending everything I had at that point on taking care of us early on.
So I'm a little confused on where his ample resources kicked in. Aside from disagreeing on the financial aspect of their relationship, both 50 and Shaniqua actually agreed that she helped him to recover after he had been shot 9 times in May of 2000. We're gonna get a little more into detail later on, but for now, to make a long story short, the reason 50 had been shot was because he made a song name-dropping people in his hood who were involved in criminal activity. They felt like 50 was dry snitching and put a price on his head.
Right behind me is my grandmother's home. I came out like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, May 24th. She was bent over, actually planting flowers in the garden, and I walked over here to sit in the actual vehicle that my friend was waiting for me in, and the car pulled up. On the side of us, the guy got out the passenger seat of that car, came around behind it, and through the actual car.
A lot of people don't know, but Marquise, myself, and his grandmother were present when he got shot. And a lot of people don't know that. Like, we actually were there. Like, his grandmother was outside in the yard. He got shot May 24, 2000. And how I know that so vividly, of course, that's the day after my daughter's birthday. And his grandmother was in the yard, and you know, he was getting ready to go. He was doing a video with Destiny's Child. He has a song called Thug Love. At the time. So, yeah, so he was getting his tattoo freshened up because they were shooting a video in Mexico with Beyonce and Destiny's Child. So we walked up to the door and stood outside it, and you know, we were there. Like, it was a very traumatic. We were actually there. Me, Marquise, and his grandmother.
What was the shock that you guys endured? You know, I personally never had anyone in front of me. So what happened? You know, was he what happened?
I mean, it was shocking because it was so early. First of all, it was early in the day, so it wasn't like it was 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock. It was it had to be it was definitely early afternoon.
Okay.
It was early afternoon, so it was shocking. And Marquise at the time, he was about 3 years old, so yeah, for sure.
Luckily for 50, he survived, but was hospitalized for almost 3 weeks. Shaniqua was there massaging his feet and wiping his ass for 5 months straight during his road to recovery. In 2002, 50 signed to Shady Records and released his debut album, Get Rich or Die Trying, on February 6, 2003. The album peaked at #1 in the US Billboard 200, and it also performed well in international markets. I can't tell you from firsthand experience how big the hype was when he popped out on the scene, but I saw someone compare the hype for 50 to the hype of the Beatles in 1964. So after hard work, sacrifices, and dedication, 50 finally made it. Now that he was in a position where he had an excessive amount of wealth, he could comfortably provide for his family and still have money to do whatever else he wanted to do. And that's exactly what he did. Any issues that were brewing behind closed doors didn't become public knowledge until 50 filed a petition in family court during 2008. The petition was to establish 50's child support obligations for his son Marquise, who was 11 years old at the time. His lawyer, Brett Kimmel, stated the reason 50 filed to establish child support was because Shaniqua started making unreasonable demands that seemed to have no limits. According to a friend, 50 and Shaniqua had broken up in 2002, but he bought Shaniqua a house in an upscale Long Island town so Marquise could be in a good school district. In a comment to page 6 referencing the child support petition, the friend stated it was just getting so out of hand. It was driven by greed. He felt it was necessary to get a court order making clear just what his responsibility is. He took matters into his own hands. It's usually the woman who files, but he wants to do the right thing. He's paying a lot of child support. He takes Marquise on vacations. He just took him to LA where they saw Eminem together. He just met Justin Timberlake and Timbaland in Miami. He took him to the NBA All-Star game in Vegas. He sees his son very frequently. When he's on the road, he brings him out. Contrary to what the friend stated, Shaniqua has said on multiple occasions that she and 50 were together well beyond 2002, and the relationship didn't end because of finances.
What happened?
You know, I'm a person that doesn't go out much.
Okay.
I'm very much a homebody. So he started to see my behaviors changing a little bit because I did meet someone, and he was in Connecticut.
Were you cheating?
Be
honest.
Yes.
Okay.
I was. I
So
met
you were
someone.
cheating on me.
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna make that's wrong because two wrongs don't make a right.
No, but I'm just saying,
Okay.
if you're going to tell the story.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell a story, but I'm just saying, like, after he done cheated with me.
You met somebody and
I
and
did.
what happened?
I bet.
You didn't go out and all of a sudden you started going
Yeah,
out.
I started, you know, because I'm always with my children. Everyone knows that about
Right.
me. So I started going out. You know, I met someone and I started going out and I found out about it. He found out. I don't know. He didn't find out about it. I think he just had a clue. So, where's your mom? Like, she's always home. Like, he's in Connecticut recording with El J at the time he came home and I wasn't there. So when I got in, he called me first, but I know how he is. So I said, you know, I'm not going to come home until you calm down. And when I got home, he just lost it. He lost it completely, just lost it. And even when my daughter walked in the room, he still was hitting me. And, oh, I hate to sound like a battered woman, but it just bothers me. And, you know, he really lost it. And he just broke down and cried. But that's why I say it's so scary because he was hitting me in one moment. He's angry, but then the next minute he's in my lap crying like a baby. So it's a lot of issues there, but that's what
has some issues
but
from
that-
childhood. I agree.
yeah, that point.
They always say hurt people.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
do, and I say, you know, bully is hard on the outside. I've tried that, but they're soft on the inside.
And maybe there was love for you. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there was some kind of love for you coming from him. He trusts you. You know what I mean? And when those things started happening, and just listening to you, and when a man trusts you, he believes in you and he loves you. He may not tell you often, but then when you do something wrong, he lashes out so big because he cares so much. Doesn't have a mom, doesn't have a dad, didn't have those people. So you were that go-to person.
But you have to learn how to treat people like
Look at Chris Brown. He doesn't understand. He was born watching that. You know what I mean?
But you
But
have
then he
to
ended up
learn
doing
how to,
it, though.
And he ended up doing
I
it.
mean, so his mom get beat, and then he ended up doing it. And then as we go to break, because I think we got to go here. I hear, it's like somebody said the other day about when we had Apollo on, and he said he watched his mom OD. I said, well, that doesn't make you become a felon.
no.
You know, and
We use that as crutches.
right, but I'm also saying,
everybody's not strong.
but I'm also, and you said that, but I'm also saying this, but I don't care how hurt he is, he should never have hit you.
So where did things like start to kind of go downhill?
He's a very person.
What kind of, was it mental, physical?
I mean, he see the mental part though. He couldn't. That was the problem. He'll say something to you, and he thinks he'll say something to you, and he thinks like, you know, he can get under your skin. But it's like the person I am. It's like, oh no, you say something to me, I'm going to say something that's going to make you want to reevaluate your whole life. So when it would get to that, it's like he couldn't handle it, so he wants to fight. But he'll start. And
No, finish what you're saying.
No, I'm just saying he'll initiate confrontation, and then he can't handle it, and then he want to fight. Because physically, of course, you see how big he is. Like, I'm more than 5'2". He's like about 6 feet. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would give him a little run for his money, because fighting him, I'm not scared to fight anyone. I fought him. I'm definitely not scared to fight anyone, but you know, he just couldn't handle it. And it's like, I don't understand people. You can dish it, but you can't take it. And I never understood that concept. They just don't say anything. Like, I never understood that. I still don't understand that now with people. I just don't.
Oh, okay. So,
But I mean, it was the abuse. And one day he hit me in front of my daughter, and that was the end. There was an incident with Marquise before that, and then him hit me in front of my daughter, and that was just like, that was it. I'm like, no way. And then you know that it's a problem, because it's like he hit me in front of my daughter, but in the same instance, he started crying in my lap. So, you know, like, you realize that there's, like, emotionally and mentally, like, he has a problem. Like, that, and it's not about me. And that's so sad when people are, they think it's something that they did wrong. And I knew it wasn't about me. I was like, this is deep-rooted issues that stem from childhood. Like, this is not about me. And
So where do you?
that was it for me. But then I did tell him that if he goes to counseling, maybe we could work through it. And he said, I'll think about it. Once he said, I'll think about it, I was like, it's you have to. I always say, when a person does something to you initially, you are a victim. But once you know how they are and you continue to deal with them, you're no longer a victim. You're a willing participant. You're participating in this willingly. So I participated in that relationship willingly, whatever was going on. But when it comes to my child, I'm not going to let anyone my child. I'm just not. So as a mother, I always say, oh, you're a bitter ex. No, I'm not a bitter ex. I'm an angry mother. Like, I'm not bitter. I left him.
That was actually one of my questions.
I left him. How am I bitter? I left him at his height. When I left him, he was on a Forbes list. I left him at his height. So what am I? When you leave someone, you know they're gonna move on. You know they possibly gonna be married. They're gonna have children. They're gonna have 10 women. Whatever, he's gonna have a harem. Whatever he was gonna do, we were no longer in that space. So what am I bitter about? That's what I never could understand that. I left him. He did not leave me. I left him. And before he had his son that he has, he asked me to have another baby with him. So what am I bitter about?
People might say that. People might say that, oh, you're just bitter because you miss the money, you miss the lifestyle.
But I knew when I left him that it was a roll of the dice, as in what I may or may not. I knew I was going to get. I'm not married. I wasn't married to him, so I know I was going to get more with him than I would without him. That's just coming. Like, I knew that when I left, I did not care, because I'm not for sale. And he offered me more money for me not to leave. And I'm not for sale. And I told him that. I said, listen, he offered, at the time when I was with him, he was giving me about $20,000 a month as an allowance. But out of that $20,000, I wasn't paying for anything. I wasn't paying for a bill, a mortgage. It wasn't even no mortgage on my house. My mortgage was paid in cash. I had Unit American Express cards. I didn't come out of pocket for anything, plus getting my allowance. He offered me, before I left, he offered me $45,000 a month to stay, plus everything. Like, in my house, I didn't pay for anything. Like, my car service bill for the year was almost $200,000. Just car service, not even flights, hotels, anything. So I'm just saying it to say, and go to show you, I was living $1 million lifestyle. He offered me $45,000 a month to stay and kept everything the way it was, as in nothing I would come out of pocket for anything. And I looked at him, I verbatim, I said to him, let me explain this to you. I've never in my life fucked for money. And I'm not going to start fucking you for money. Either you're going to go to counseling and we're going to try to work through this as a family, or I'm not going to be bothered. And that's what happened. We were actually in court when he offered me that. And I said, no, I said, I'll play CeeLo. I'll roll the dice with the magistrate and see what the number's going to be.
Shaniqua hired mega lawyer Raul Lionel Felder to represent her during the legal battle with 50 and requested $50,000 a month, but was temporarily granted $25,000 a month while the court decided the appropriate amount she should be receiving, which ultimately was determined to be $6,700 a month. While Shaniqua might have thought her days in the courtroom were over, 50 was just warming up. Shortly after child support was established, 50 went to Suffolk Housing Court and filed a petition to evict Shaniqua and the children from the home that he bought for them to live in. According to the New York Post, while 50 was on the witness stand, he testified that he didn't like the fact that Shaniqua's new man moved into the house and thought it was inappropriate for him to be living there when 50 was the one who bought it. The judge decided the home belonged to 50 and granted his order of eviction.
Yeah. Today's a good day. There's no legal right. You know, the house is my house. You just want to drag the situation out as long as possible. I think she just wants to see me. You know, so drag me back and forth before. My time is worth a lot, so you know, I'm wasting my time, man.
How are you?
How do you feel about the case?
Well, I've been with 50 for a long time. He's a very evil, abusive man, and that's why I left him in the first place. Any man who could evict his child out of a house is evil. After I took care of him and I worked when he wasn't doing anything, so he's a very evil, disgruntled man, and I just hope God bless him.
And are you confident about the case?
Yeah, because God takes care of everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The right. I'm a winner. I always win. Prolong the situation as long as possible. It doesn't bother me to hear that. Did you see me affected by what you said? You know, so that's actually what happens if you haven't had the opportunity to be in that actual court setting. You don't see that as often, but they'll say what they're gonna say to try and make you uncomfortable while you understand. Absolutely not. You know she's gonna try and do everything she can do. She don't got a job, so this is her job. You know what I mean? She's chasing me around, so she can get out.
God bless Mr. Jackson. I hope he gets some help. That's just that.
Okay. How do you feel about the final result?
It's not final. Still working on it.
Yeah. Nothing's final yet. This is just one slight interference in the process. We're going all the way, and we've got a lot of contradictory testimony from Mr. Jackson, and it will be raised again, I assure you, in New York Supreme Court or in any other courthouse that we have to.
You're gonna keep fighting?
Absolutely. I'm a trial attorney. I don't give up.
Once the news about 50 evicting Shaniqua and the kids started to circulate, a radio host on Hot 97 was kinda upset that he would do that to her after he portrayed her as someone who really had his back and held him down in his movie Get Rich or Die Trying, which was loosely based on his life. So 50 decided to call into the show to clear the air.
Yeah. Now you can curse me behind the scenes, but you know I can't do that on the air. You heard me? I said you can curse me all you want off the air, but it's not happening now. Don't get me in trouble, please. No. You said in the movie that she held you down.
It's a movie. I try to create a more positive outlook on it.
Well, when were you going to give me the memo?
Oh, man. The real thing is, like, that's not like my shorty on the side.
I didn't say that.
I haven't dealt with her since, like, 2000 and... Man.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say she was your shorty on the side. I said she's a mother of kid. You said she's a nurse. You said...
She's not a nurse.
In the movie...
She's a nurse. She's an RN. A regular nurse.
I'm gonna punch you.
Come on, listen up. Take this out. She had a job. She worked for 3 months in 2001.
Well,
they're temp agents.
It's a reception.
She had a job. She did nothing. So, I mean, I was giving her $500,000 a year. And then she thought she was entitled to 17% because she listened to the oh, man, this chick she be having around the guy thinking she was real estate listed. She was entitled to 17%, girl. You still have vitamin water money, girl? Yeah.
I can hear that now. Can't you hear that now? Over apple martinis. See, you the one that said she was a nurse.
I never. Who's a nurse?
50, what is good with this dude? When did he move in? Did they really move into the crib?
Yeah, he started.
And he knows you own it?
How you gonna know? Because see the little boy right there.
So do they got a baby together?
No, they don't have no babies together.
So are they out the house now, or are they still there?
They got to the 30th.
You made her seem like she was like...
Wasn't that the right thing to do?
Yeah, but I believe it.
Come on, like if you First of all, you gotta get the rights. You gotta have her read the script and sign off on her rights.
And so ain't nobody gonna let you do a movie if you saying bad stuff about
Right. Like, how you gonna portray them in a negative light?
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
How interesting are you in the movie when I'm getting shot 9 times and you're doing nothing?
50 may have won the battle, but Shaniqua wasn't giving up so easily. After Judge Stephen Hackling granted 50's order for eviction, Shaniqua made a trip to Manhattan Supreme Court and filed a $50 million lawsuit against 50, seeking a temporary stay of her eviction, damages for breach of contract, and unjust enrichment, amongst other things. The judge granted Shaniqua and the kids permission to remain in the home until a formal judgment was made. In Shaniqua's deposition, she alleged her and 50 entered an oral agreement a month before Marquise was born in 1996. She stated while she and 50 were in the bedroom, he began telling her how much he loved and appreciated her for sticking by and supporting him in everything he does. She alleged 50 told her to just bear with him because when he made it big or received a lucrative recording contract, he would take care of her for the rest of her life and that everything he owned would be the both of theirs. No matter if they were going to be together or not, they were down for life. Shaniqua allegedly agreed to support him and be the main financial contributor to the household until he got himself together. She claimed that shortly after their alleged conversation, she purchased a diamond ring and a watch to help him shape his image as a rapper. She also alleged she gave him money to incorporate an entertainment company called Rotten Apple Records. She alleged she paid for his studio time, transportation to the studio, digital audio tapes, reels, and tattoos. She said that when 50 had been in May of 2000, she slept on a chair by his side for 18 days while he was hospitalized, and upon his discharge, they relocated to her mother's house in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, where Shaniqua nursed him back to health over the course of 5 months. According to Shaniqua, 50 had a metal rod in his right hip and couldn't do anything for himself. So she was the one who would feed him, bathe him, help him use the restroom, everything. She even said she massaged his feet to comfort him until he fell asleep. In regards to the home 50 was attempting to evict her and the kids from, Shaniqua claimed that in 2005, at 50's request, she hired a real estate agent to begin looking for a house in New York. The agent notified Shaniqua of 2 homes in the Dix Hills area, and she chose a house on 2 Sandra Drive. Allegedly, Shaniqua and 50 entered an oral agreement right before the closing that the house would be paid for in cash by 50 and that it would also be in her name. Shaniqua said the conversation came about because as time went on, she saw that 50 wasn't honoring things he said he would do. She told 50 everything else was in his name, so she wanted the house in Dix Hills to be in her name. Allegedly, 50 responded to her, "You act like I would never take care of you. I promised you I would always take care of you." To which Shaniqua replied, "Well, if you feel that way, then the house in Dix Hills should be in my name." And 50 allegedly responded, "Okay, done." She claimed she was under the impression that all she had to do was show up at the closing. According to Shaniqua, on the day of closing, everyone was present except 50. When it was time to sign the closing documents, Shaniqua stopped the procedure and took 50's power of attorney, Alan Hawk, out of the room, insisting the house was supposed to be in her name. When she called 50, he allegedly told her he was gonna have Alan put her name on the house and to put him on the phone. Alan allegedly took the phone and said, "Wait a minute, Curtis. Wait. Allegedly, he went into his office, closed the door, and came out to advise Shaniqua not to worry. They were gonna put her name on the house, but first it would be in 50's name, and then they would transfer it into her name in a couple of weeks." Fast forward to 2007, 50 and Shaniqua allegedly got into a physical altercation, which led to 50 moving out, putting himself on child support, and trying to evict her and the kids. At least that's what Shaniqua says. In 50's deposition, he basically denied everything and said Shaniqua had a sense of entitlement because she was around during the time he didn't have much. He said Shaniqua was his girlfriend in 1996 and then turned into his son's mom. Allegedly, they slept together from time to time, but that was it. 50 said he never agreed to take care of Shaniqua for the rest of her life, and if he had intended to do so, he would have married her. He denied that she ever supported him financially and never agreed to give her any of his money he earned as a recording artist. In regards to the house, 50 stated he and Shaniqua did not agree to anything. Instead, he told her he would purchase the house but would not put her name on the title. Since Shaniqua didn't have their alleged agreement in writing and the statute of limitations were up, her claim that 50 told her everything would be half his, half hers was thrown out of the window. However, when it came to the house that 50 was trying to evict her from, she was able to present an email sent from him that stated, "Neek, it really hurt me to hear you say you think I wouldn't take care of you. You can have the house. I'll have them put it in your name and I will give you money every month. It doesn't matter to me." According to the court record, 50 admitted that the email could have been in reference to the house he was trying to evict Shaniqua from in Dix Hills. The court noted that the email was dated December of 2006, and the contract of sale for the Dix Hills home was dated September of 2006. Therefore, the only house 50 could have been referring to was the one in Dix Hills. Unfortunately, no one would end up being the owner of that home because it magically burned down in the middle of 50 and Shaniqua's court proceedings. The week of the house fire, Shaniqua and 50 were at her lawyer Paul Katsadonis' office for a deposition when 50 allegedly made a comment that Shaniqua didn't cook, clean, or do anything. She was just around for oral sex. That led to a physical altercation between 50's bodyguard, Shaniqua's boyfriend, and two of his friends. It didn't stop inside of the lawyer's office. They took it to the streets, and someone was able to catch 50 being held back by someone in his entourage. A few days later, Shaniqua, her daughter, Marquise, and guests were jumping out of a second-floor window to save their lives. At around 4 a.m. on May 30th, 2008, Shaniqua was awake caring for Marquise, who was sick with a cold, when all of a sudden someone threw a Molotov cocktail into their home. Shaniqua yelled for everyone to get out because a fire had started. They tried to get downstairs to escape, but flames were blocking them, so they were forced to climb out of a bedroom window onto the roof. Luckily, a Suffolk County police officer named Douglas Bowes happened to be passing by and ran up to the house to help catch Marquise, his sister, and their pet guinea pig.
I had a deposition that day. I think it was on a Friday. I had a deposition that day. It's a deposition about the house. The next day, I was jumping out of a second floor window. The house burning down with me and my children, and a family friend that I know. Her name, I'm not gonna say her name, but she had a fight with her husband, and she came to spend. And she never comes to spend the night with me. She had a fight with her husband. She said, "Can I come and spend the night?" I said, "Sure." And she brought her son, and it was her, it was me, her, my children, my sister, my youngest sister, because my mom had passed away. And my youngest sister was living with me at the time. I'm 19 years older than my youngest sibling. And her and her son. And we were all jumping out of a second floor burning house.
Wow.
Like literally, we couldn't even run out the house. Like we jumped out of the second floor. And by the time we walked around, we ran down the driveway, that part of the house burned, kicked already to the ground. The part that we jumped out of.
Oh wow, that's scary.
Yeah, an off-duty. I want to see him too. Like an off-duty police officer saw the flames, and he came around the back, and he helped break out full from jumping out of the window. He was there to help us out. Yeah.
Oh, to help you out. So at this point in time, what were the emotions running through you? Like, you know, oh my God, what?
Anger, because when I heard the glass break, my daughter thought I dropped something. I was like, this mother. I was just angry. Like I wasn't scared or anything at that point in time. I wasn't scared. I was like, this mother. Like I was just so angry. But my first inclination was to get us out and just get us out safely. And it's just like my survival instinct. Well, I'm not even gonna say I really feel like it's God. It's like I just wasn't scared. Like I just was. We gotta get out of here.
You were in panic mode.
Yeah, like I'm not. Like me and my children we're not gonna die like this. We gotta get out of here.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that you went through that.
Yeah, I kicked out the screen, opened the window, kicked out the screen, and the off-duty cop just helped break our fall.
All 6 people were taken to Huntington Hospital and treated for smoke inhalation. Although authorities had no suspects at the time, Dix Hill's fire chief Larry Feld deemed the fire to be suspicious due to the volume of the fire and how fast it spread. Shaniqua was adamant that 50 had something to do with the fire and accused him of trying to kill her and his own son. At the time of the fire, 50 was in Louisiana filming a movie, so his lawyer Brett Kimmel released a statement calling Shaniqua's accusations outrageous and offensive. He stated 50 had nothing whatsoever to do with the fire and that Curtis Jackson expressed deep concern over this fire at his property. He is extremely thankful that everyone, including his son Marquise, escaped the burning house safely. He is confident that authorities will be conducting a thorough investigation of the incident and is eager to review their findings. Later that afternoon, when Shaniqua returned to the home, she scoffed at the statement and said that 50 had not called to check on his son.
Can we just talk to you for a second?
No, you can.
Okay, great.
What do you think happened with the Jackson business?
You do think so?
Yes, I know so.
Why do you say
He
that?
threatened me on Monday.
He did.
He threatened me. Look, watch what I'll do. I'll have someone come kill you. He threatened me. He threatened me on Monday, and this is what he did.
How long were you two together?
We were together for 13 years. The relation just ended over a year ago. He cannot accept that I have moved on with my life. He felt like he want to strip me of everything. And I didn't allow it. I fought back. And this is what he's trying to do. He tried to kill me and his own child.
Why do you know that?
So he threatened me. He told me he would. He told me he would have someone come do something to me. He told me he would say, watch what I do. I have someone come kill you. And that's what he did. That's what he did. I know he did. It's not a doubt in my mind on my son's life. I know he did.
What happened?
I know he
did.
did.
Anything? Did you see anything?
Someone threw something through the window and the house just ignited. Couldn't even make it downstairs. We had to jump out the window.
Do you think he hired someone to do
Yes, of course. I know he's so much of a coward to do anything himself.
You're blaming 50 Cent for this?
Yes.
He released a statement saying he was happy everyone got out alive.
He didn't even, if you release a statement, if you care about the child, he has made no attempt to contact his child. He calls my grandmother when he's upset and he wants to talk about me. He calls my uncle, he calls my aunt. He's not made one attempt to come find out if his son is okay. So that sounds like a concerned father? A concerned father don't sign over their rights. A concerned father do not sign over legal, physical. He has no rights over Marquise. None. He signed away custody. He tries to make sure like he's a doting, beautiful father. He's not. He's not. He is a deadbeat because it's not about monetary. He is a deadbeat.
You heard this in the middle of the night?
Yes, I did.
Talk about the custody of the house. He didn't want you to have that.
No, and we was in the Supreme Court. I did my deposition yesterday.
And yesterday. He trashed?
Yesterday.
Attorney?
No, he trashed on Monday, but I did my deposition yesterday. And they saw the evidence that we had an express oral agreement, and I have proof that he said that, and this is what happened. He knew I was going to get that house.
His kids in danger?
He doesn't care. Anyone who's trying to take a roof over their child's head, do they care about putting them in danger? When you know you drive around a bulletproof van all day, every night, wouldn't you want your son to be somewhere safe?
You think he would try to stop it?
Yes, I think he would. He's obsessed. If he can't have me, he'd be like, no one can. He's obsessed.
So
he's very upset.
Fighting over the house for
Yes, we're in court. We're in litigation. We're fighting over the house.
Yes. What did he tell you?
He said that he was going to have someone come to me and watch what he does. And this is what he did.
So he threatened you?
Yes, and he has made no contact to even see how his son is doing. No contact.
You were telling us that are you? How frightened are you?
I'm very upset.
Shortly after the fire, Shaniqua filed a a temporary restraining order that required 50 to surrender all firearms and prevented him from being on the same premises as her. While she made her way into the courthouse, Shaniqua was served with a $20 million defamation lawsuit for accusing 50 of trying to kill her and Marquise. 50 saw a permanent injunction restraining her from republishing, repeating, distributing, and otherwise disseminating accusations he was involved in burning down the home or attempting to kill family members, including Marquise. 50 also filed a petition to enforce his visitation rights.
They baffled.
Thank you.
How do you feel about being served this morning?
It's all right.
Got a message for 50?
God bless him.
So are you frustrated that 50 Cent didn't show up for the...
No, I don't
We
want
weren't
to see
expecting
him.
him. We weren't expecting him today.
I have order of protection for him to stay away, so I don't want to see him. What about visitation? I have full custody of Marquise. He signed over his rights last year. I have physical and legal custody of Marquise. I've never restrained him from seeing Marquise. Mr. Jackson doesn't wish to see Marquise. Can you tell? I mean, so where? So we were...
Even when we first went to court, he didn't return my son's calls for 3 months straight. Just didn't return his phone calls. Wouldn't call him back. So it's just odd to me how when it's time to go to court, then Mr. Jackson will take him to a baseball game, which Mr. Jackson has never taken him to a baseball game, basketball, anything. To pretend like he's a doting, good father.
He doesn't even know the shoe size.
He had
Marquise.
no. He knows nothing.
He wanted
nothing. Just like he'll go on court. Oh, she don't want to let me see my son. She don't. So the judge said, okay, I'll give you the information to call his schools to be involved. His teacher called me 3 weeks ago and said he has not called all year, not one time. Not one time. So now it's not, see, now he's dragging everyone else in. Now it's not going to be my word against his. Now you're going to get the teachers involved who know you're not an active parent. You're going to get the coaches involved who know you're not an active parent. Then you're going to force Marquise to tell the truth about your father. Period.
The truth will come out the next time we're here.
You can't, it's like my grandma said, you can't defend a lie. You can't defend a lie.
How do you recover us from the fire?
I'm trying. I mean, it's traumatizing. We lost everything, but I'm trying. God is a wonderful God. He's a good God, and my kids keep me going. I'm trying. But it's hard when you have someone who you have been with for 13 years of your life, who you have taken care of when he had nothing. Mr. Jackson had nothing when I met him. I took care of him. I worked. He didn't have anything, nothing.
In an interview with TV One Access, 50 told the interviewer that Shaniqua was ordered to leave his home before the fire erupted and insinuated she was the one who did it. He stated, "It's kind of more like, if I can't have you, you can't have it." The interviewer asked, "So you figure she lit it up?" 50 responded, "Well, I don't want to say that. Don't try to make me say something I don't want to say, but the circumstances to it might seem that way." A statement was released on 50's website, thisis50.com, saying he was officially cleared by New York police of having any involvement in the fire that destroyed his home. The statement read, "The police department and insurance investigators ruled that there is absolutely no proof or evidence suggesting that Curtis Jackson or any affiliated parties were involved. Curtis Jackson has just been cleared of all the accusations. The investigation will continue until the guilty party is found." A spokesman for Suffolk County Police told E! News that contrary to the statement posted on 50's website, the case remained open and no one was declared beyond suspicion. So after Shaniqua was granted the temporary restraining order and 50 filed the petition to enforce his visitation rights, he was granted 9 days of unrestricted visitation to take Marquise on vacation the following month.
Hey, 50, you believe you got custody the week you wanted? Yeah, go. Pretty good. Pretty good? These allegations trying to say that you firebombed the house out there. Back up. Let him get to his car. You ain't being prosecuted to try to make me. Back up. Good. Hey, when's the last time you seen your son? I haven't seen him in a while. That's what I came here today for.
Can I just get one right here?
50, can I just get one? Way to go, Corpo. Wait till we go away to court. You have 30 seconds. you trust Diddy with your son? You trust him with your son?
Sorry, excuse me. We just gotta keep going. We gotta keep going. You're gonna hear everything in September. You're gonna hear everything in September. You're gonna hear.
How come you didn't want him to have him between the 3rd and the 12th of August?
There's a lot going on right now.
If you follow the trial or the history of the relationship, I've never said anything about it up until now. Mr. Jackson has always spoken negative about him.
But I think it's still take your child if you think he did try to firebomb the house.
Yes.
How come Suffolk County hasn't responded to this?
Yes. I'm sure there's gonna be a response.
Do you trust what you said? Can you tell us what's left of the house on the property? Do you trust Diddy?
No, not at all.
You don't trust him?
In any way, no.
So how do you trust him with your child?
I don't.
You want full custody?
I already have that.
Okay. But do you feel safe letting him go with him for the weekend?
No, I don't. That's just an honest, non-defamation opinion.
However, around the time he was supposed to go on vacation with Marquise, 50 did an interview with Sister to Sister magazine and said Shaniqua had kidnapped Marquise and fled in the midst of their court battle. I guess Shaniqua came back after she read that interview because in another family court hearing, 50 was granted extended visitation rights, which allowed him to see Marquise every other weekend until the custody trial began. Later on throughout the custody battle, they were able to reach an agreement that allowed 50 to see Marquise one weekend every month and to share holidays and vacations with Shaniqua. Judge David Freundlich thanked them for their cooperation and applauded them for looking out for the well-being of Marquise. After all of their issues were settled in court, it seemed like that might have been the end of the Shaniqua and 50 saga, until an accusation was made about 2 years later that identified the alleged culprit who burned Shaniqua's house down. A woman named Shayna Chen, who had been dating 50's assistant Dwayne McKenzie, filed a lawsuit against him for assaulting her at a mansion he shared with 50 in Connecticut. Shayna and Dwayne were in a relationship for a year until they separated when Shayna found out Dwayne had been cheating on her. In an attempt to fix their relationship, Dwayne left Shayna gifts and apology notes at her home until communications between them gradually improved. Dwayne invited Shayna to attend a Memorial Day party that he was hosting at the mansion, and she decided to accept his invitation. During the party, Shayna and Dwayne interacted with each other but spent most of their time socializing with other people. Sometime late in the evening, Shayna decided to leave the party and head upstairs to rest in Dwayne's room because she had been tired from working earlier in the day. Shortly after entering the room, Shayna fell asleep. After the party had ended around 2 a.m., Shayna heard Dwayne coming to the adjoining bathroom and take a shower. Afterwards, he came into the bedroom and tried to flip Shayna over on the bed, but she told him she was tired and rejected his advances. Dwayne continued and Shayna protested again. At that point, Dwayne was fed up, so he began choking Shayna. He threw her onto the floor, slapped and punched her in the face, and then beat her with his belt. After he was finished, Dwayne picked up Shayna, laid her back on the bed, and apologized. Shayna left the mansion and returned to her home. Later that morning, she called the police to report the incident and filed for a protective order. Dwayne was arrested shortly after the incident and released on a $10,000 bond. Shayna suffered neck and back pain, bruises, a cut lip, and her face was swollen for about a week. She filed a lawsuit against Dwayne, and in her testimony, she revealed Dwayne often carried a gun and had talked of torching the house that belonged to Shaniqua. Shayna won her case against Dwayne and was awarded $30,000 for her injuries and pain and suffering. I heard the investigation on the house fire was reopened after Shayna's testimony, but I couldn't find more info on that, so that's where we're gonna end part 1. Part 2 will be on the way shortly. Stay tuned because there's so much more tea ahead. If you thought this was hot, the tea gets scalding, okay? Y'all let me know what y'all think about this so far down in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that like button to help your girl out. And I will talk to you in my next video.